Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of having a wood burner inside your camper van. Now, for those of you that are new here, my name's Mel and I live full-time in this Mercedes Sprinter camper van, and occasionally I like to go treasure hunting. So if that's something that interests you, then please do consider subscribing to my channel. Now, I get a lot of questions concerning my little wood burner, so today I hope to answer some of those questions and look at the pros and cons of having such a wood burner inside your camper van. So first, let's actually talk about the wood burner I have installed in my van. Now, this little wood stove is actually made in Canada by a company called Cubic Mini Wood Stove. This is a Cub. They do a bigger version called a Grizzly, but the Grizzly is considerably larger than this one, and I chose this purely because of its size and the fact that it is a miniature wood burner. Unlike some of the wood burners you see that are homemade, this little wood burner has all the features that you would expect to find in a full-size wood burner. It's got a secondary burn chamber which you can control with this lever at the bottom. What this does is shut off a vent that goes up the back, and you might be able to just see it in the back of there, and it goes up the top, and there's actually a secondary burn chamber in the top, making it extremely clean burning. And also you've got a vent at the bottom which is controlled by this lever, which chokes it down, and it does work surprisingly well. Now, although it has a glass front to it, it doesn't take long for the glass front to actually go black, as you can see. And if I push this lever across, you'll see how quickly it does actually die down. Just give it a little minute and you'll see it dies down really surprisingly quickly. Now, another nice thing about this being a proper wood burner, it is insulated as well. You've got fire bricks down each side and across the back, and the flue is also a double flue which is also insulated at the top where it goes through the roof. So it is extremely safe because it is a proper mini wood burner. So let's talk about some of the pros of having a wood burner in your van. Not only does it heat my van, but I can also cook with it. In fact, I removed the top rail. You can see half the rail is missing, and I did this so that I can actually put a nice sized pan on top of there. I use it to heat water as well, so I can wash myself. I also use it to boil water so I can make myself coffee and tea. I've even managed to use the Ridge Monkey on this and cook myself some nice toasty sandwiches. And of course, the other benefit of having a wood burner inside your camper van is during the winter it doesn't use any precious electricity, because as we all know, solar panels don't work that well in the winter, and that is one of the primary reasons I wanted a wood burner in my van. Because I do live full-time in my van and I live off grid, I wanted a reliable heat source, and nothing can be more simple or reliable than a wood burner. After all you've got to do is put some wood in it and light it, and it works every single time. The only downside is, though, I can't use this in high winds. If it's really windy, I do get a backdraft and it will blow smoke into my van. So that's one downside of having this wood burner inside your van, is that you can't use it on really windy days. But I do have my diesel heater as backup, so it's really not that big of a deal. It's just a little annoying, I guess. And the other disadvantage is when it is lit, I cannot drive. So I have to make sure that when I'm parked up and I intend to use my wood burner, I'm parked up in a place where I don't have to move, because you cannot drive your van once this has been lit. Or even if it's slightly smouldering, it's always a good idea to make sure it's gone out completely and there are no hot embers in there before you drive anywhere, because that could cause quite a big fire risk, and we don't want to do that. And there you go, as you can see, it's died down considerably. Now I've shut that vent, so I'm just going to open this up again and let that build up again. So I actually want this to go down and burn out completely, because the sun has come out and it's getting quite warm in here. Now, of course, when you're using a wood burner inside a van, you do have to have adequate ventilation. That's why I always sleep with my skylight open, so I get that nice through draft of fresh air, and that air comes into the van, gets drawn into the wood burner and up the flue. So you do need to have air circulating in your van, but that's okay, because this gives off such dry heat. It more than makes up for the air coming inside the van, and I find it's a real nice balance between humidity and hot air. It's more natural, if you like, rather than having a diesel heater running during the night. And also it's completely silent, so before I go to bed at night, what I usually do is fill it up full of wood, wait for it to get going, and then choke it right down, and this will burn pretty much for 4 hours solid before it goes out. And usually during the night I wake up needing to go to the toilet, and I usually wake up just in time to catch it, to refill it But if I don't wake in time to refill it, it's okay, because the van will still be nice and warm, and because it's got those fire bricks inside there, it does give off radiant heat even though it's gone out. It's almost like a storage heater, and I very rarely wake up really cold, but I do get a really good night's sleep because, like I say, it is completely silent, apart from that little rumble you can hear. Which is quite soothing, I've got to say. It's something quite primitive about it, primeval if you like, watching the flames as you fall asleep. It's quite mesmerising. So there are some of the pros of this wood burner. It's multifunctional. I can, not only does it heat my van, but I can cook on it. It's nice dry heat. It's completely silent, and it doesn't use any power. The other advantage, of course, is it burns wood, which is readily available wherever you go. Although I myself like to buy those packs of wood that are pre-dried, a bit like these. I'm experimenting at the moment with some of these bricks that I brought from Aldi's. As you can see, I've had to cut them in half, and one of these bricks, believe it or not, will actually last me all night. I will get a staggering 4 to 5 hours heat from just half of one of these bricks. Well, this is half. They're actually this big when you buy them. I have to cut them in half because it's so small. It'll only take half at a time. But if I really do get desperate for wood, I can always go to an industrial estate where you will find old pallets all the time. You'll always see old broken pallets kicking around, and you can saw those up and put those in the wood burner. Although I don't recommend that, because they do tend to give off quite a lot of smoke and probably quite toxic fumes. And for that reason, I like to buy my wood from, like I say, Aldi's or Lidl's. It's relatively cheap because this wood stove has got a secondary burn chamber. It's quite clean burning as well, much cleaner than burning old pallets anyway. Now that it's died down a bit, I can show you that secondary burn chamber, I hope. Let's open this up. There we go, it's just smouldering now. There you go, you can actually see now inside the wood burner. You can see those fire bricks in there. You can see the top there. You can see where those grills are underneath, and that's the secondary burn chamber in the top. And that does make it extremely clean burning. Like I say, hardly any smoke comes out of the flue of this. A lot of people think that having a wood burner in the van is dangerous, but if it's a professionally built wood burner like this, it's completely safe. But what makes this so safe is this half that I've built, and this is one of the downsides, is purely the weight. Although the wood burner itself is quite light, the surrounding half is quite heavy because it is made of fire resistant plasterboard and these thick floor tiles that I've put up the wall. So these are quite heavy, which is a bit of a downside, I suppose, is the weight. The other downside, of course, is the space that it takes up. This probably takes up enough room to build a small shower, and that's one of the reasons I've got this raised up off the floor. A lot of people that fit wood burners in vans have them down on the floor, but I wanted this up high like this so that underneath here I could store my wood, which is something else you need to consider, is where you're going to store your wood. But as it turns out, this cupboard that I built for my wood store was perfect size for my porta potty, so my porta potty now resides underneath my wood burner, and my logs, well, they mainly get put on the passenger footwell in the front of my van, which isn't ideal, but hey, it works for me. And that's just one downside, I suppose, is somewhere to actually store your wood, but it's not that big a deal really. Now, the other thing to consider when using a wood burner in your van, because you are mobile, is to make sure that the area you're parked in allows you to use a wood burner. Some places you're not actually allowed to use a wood burner in houses, so if you're parked in an area where the council have banned wood burners in houses, then I pretty much think having a wood burner in your van applies to you as well. So that's just one thing you have to bear in mind, is to make sure that where you're going you can actually use your wood burner. After all, you don't want to get in trouble with the local authorities. Now, a lot of people ask me how much this wood burner actually cost me to import from Canada, and I made a video all about that. I'll leave that video up here for your viewing pleasure. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you very soon. Ta-ra for now.